We are lighting the candle, a world that works. Hi there. I'm Bill Correll, and as you know, I bring you all sorts of really empowering conversations. And the one we're having today is very special. I'm going to introduce a close friend of mine. If you don't know this, Kim Kasparian and I go back to probably a meeting at Hartford Business Journal sometime in the last century when she was 9. So, you know,
Yeah.
we had
Yeah.
a we had a good an auspicious beginning, and we've sort of kept in touch with each other ever since. And I want to frame this because the reason this is a special conversation is because both Kim and I are very interested in empowering people, getting people out of their own way so that they can accomplish their dreams. And we both do it, with clients that actually pay us. That's an aside. We would probably not do anything else if we made nothing. As long as we could feed ourselves and take care of the cat, we'd be good. But with that said, Kim and I have these outrageously wonderful exchanges on Facebook every once in a while. She posts these open-ended questions to whoever, and every once in a while I'll just drop in and leave a comment or two, and sometimes it's more than a comment or two. But we got going on what I consider to be the linchpin conversation of all humanity, and that is relationships. And so I invited Kim to hop on here and the two of us to exchange some ideas and kind of philosophically dive into and give distinctions with regard to what does relationship do for business, and especially for young new solopreneurs and that sort of thing. So that's the kickoff here. We've got a short time frame today, so the two of us are going to attack this with velocity, and we're going to see if we can bring you some value and maybe give you one or two things that you can take away that be worth your time to listen. So with that said, Kim, can you tell people a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. I'm Kim Kasparian. I created a company 25 years ago called Success Genie LLC, and I empower business owners to scale their business through relationship building and collaborations so that they could have a vehicle to support the life they love rather than being trapped in a job that feels like a prison with no parole.
Perfect. So this was your question that you put out to the world, and I
Okay.
co-opted it, and then you said, "Boy, I love this," and I said, "Let's get on line and let's record."
Okay. Go ahead, Bill. Go ahead.
So my question to you is, Kim, with regard to folks that are just getting started, are you finding that it would be useful for them, for you and I to kind of define how relationship is generated, what it means, what it
Sure.
doesn't mean,
Yes.
etc.?
Yes.
Would you like to say a few
Yes.
things about that?
Yeah. You want to kick it off or you want me to go?
Well, absolutely. I said before that in life, I believe that there's a toolkit that human beings can get. You're not born with this, and some people do some extraordinary things, but as time goes on, the ones who get good at being able to reconnect with people, friends, and what have you, or it could be business associates, could be clients, could be somebody you went to college with. How that happens, this magical thing that occurs that after 30 years of not seeing each other, you get back in a conversation and then complete each other's sentences, just like you did the last time you saw each other. And there's this thing that kind of like I call it the cone of trust. So if you could picture Maxwell Smart, with Chief under this plexiglass hood where they're pretty sure nobody else can hear it, but they can say anything they want to with each other with impunity and actually have a lot of fun doing it. So if you take the building block relationship and you start to understand that there's a mechanical process for developing yourself as someone who builds, keeps, and grows relationships, you'll start to understand it's got less to do with worrying about getting a sale and being transaction oriented, and a lot more to do with getting a question out in the universe called, how do I work with you and help you get what you want so you can help me get what I want for the rest of our lives?
Right. Yes. Yes. So how far back do we want to date ourselves?
So, you know what? I'm a man. I don't even care. I've been here at
Okay.
least since the
Well,
Civil
for the
War.
new for the new, let's introduce the old school to the new school.
Okay.
So what Bill and I are talking about is older than dirt. Some of the people of the leaders of this philosophy of the 19th century, one of the first two that come to mind is Napoleon Hill. Okay, for those, and if you can get the old version, not the new watered down version of Think and Grow Rich, would be awesome. These are some names for you guys to Google if you're not familiar with any of the, for the people our generation, we grew up with them. These people are worth Googling. They are no longer here with us, but their wisdom lives on, and it's the foundation of what Bill and I know and live. So names like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, Earl Nightingale, who was the godfather of self-help in the 19th century. Every from Tony Robbins to me to anybody like Alex Hormozi, all started with Earl. And then one of the most historical figures that wrote a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie, or Dale Carnegie, however you want to pronounce his name. He was a brutal businessman for most of his life, but once he made all the wealth that anybody could make during that time, he was like, wow, is this it? There's got to be more to life than making money. And he made the second half of his life about giving and teaching people how to build relationships that can last lifetimes. So in anything that Bill and I say, we all stand on the shoulders of giants. But for me, relationships are currency. And I've had experiences where my money has been taken away through one mean or another. Relationships have always been able to bring it all back, whether I had the existing ones or knowing how to build new ones quickly. So to me, basically selling since I was 12, literally, I will always choose relationships over transactional sales. I hands down, I could talk for days and years and never get bored with all the wonderful, like, let me count the ways, like who's the poet that says, let me count the ways. Relationships create revenue.
What's really interesting, and I'm going to grab onto something that you mentioned. For those of you that are listening and you're hearing currency, in economics, we learn that is just a store of value. That can be something that has an intrinsic usefulness outside of its current form. So we'll think of gold, could be cryptocurrency, but relationship is the same kind of thing where it's a store of value. And how you find out how much you've been saving up is to go and have conversations with people and try to get things done. And to the extent that you've made enough deposits into your relationship and have grown what you can do with other people, you're going to be able to do amazing things that you can't do by yourself. So the whole notion of relationships multiplying and amplifying anything that you can do on your own goes so much further, because it's not just, I need you to do this. When you work with somebody and you start thinking in terms of synergizing, where your efforts together give you much more than your individual efforts apart could ever do, like one
Right.
plus equals 19 instead of two, right?
Yep.
So where relationships come in is all of the things that you would do for your family and your close friends. When you can have that kind of community with folks that your vendors, people in the rest of your competitors, um, clients, when you start getting people who show up at your door and say, I heard your ad on the radio, I want to work for you, you have an idea that your message is strong and it's being delivered, and you're building relationship with people you haven't even met before.
Absolutely. So it's a skill for me. It's a skill set. It's a mindset, and it's a strategy.
It could also be a way of being.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's a lifestyle, right?
Yep.
So it's mindset. Mindset for me is being. Just for you guys, everyone has a different, the way we choose to be. right? The how we it's a life for me. It's a life to for me. It's a lifestyle approach. Everything I do is through relationships, even you're right. And so, um, to me, it just makes getting through life and growing. And life is hard, right? No matter every day, you got either 50-50 shot of it being wonderful or being really like, oh my, like it was one of my clients says, sometimes you're the windshield and sometimes you're the bug. You know, um, for me, in the good times and the bad times, the common thread has been for me relationships. So in full disclosure, I don't know how to do business or do life any other way. If there is another way, I'm sure I'm open to that. But this is how I roll. And so for me, anytime I've needed something, inspiration, education, a smack in the head, to rub two nickels to make a dollar, I've always relied on my relationships. And relationships are with self, for me, with self, with spirit, and the community around me, and the community that I haven't met yet. So,
I like that. And so, if we were going to really demonstrate to our listeners in language that would not use the word relationship in it to describe how that feels and what's possible, let's just say for a moment that we're now going to talk about community.
mhm,
And for example, there are some of us who, when we show up somewhere, whether it's to go sit at the bar on Friday night and have our usual Friday night feast with the regulars, the currency in the community that's there already is a welcoming atmosphere and people smiling, and then all of a sudden you just feel like, oh, things shifted a little bit here, and now this is going to be fun and cool. So
mhm,
the goal in life would be to generate and invent community wherever you go, such that there's people that are standing by waiting for you to speak. That
yes,
you do speak, they are so sure it's going to change the world for them.
absolutely, 100%, Bill.
Then it doesn't really matter what you do. And as a matter of fact, I can draw from my own personal experience how in the IT business for the last 35 years. I worked in it for 15 years before that for other people, but I started my company in 1989, 1990. And I was always worried that I would have to have a lot of knowledge when I sat down in front of my clients and be able to wow them, with technical speak and all the rest of it. And what I found out was my highest and best use for them in their businesses, because almost nobody understood IT language. I was just learning it myself, even after being in the industry for 10 or 15 years. It boiled down to, can I translate IT into what the people who are managing the computer networks need to have, and then translate that into business, and you know language that the business owners could understand, to be able to be a translator between these two parties. In doing so, as I educated them as to what now they weren't understanding about what the other one was saying, larger organizations thought I was very valuable to them and started spending money with me like crazy to satisfy their needs, because I could take everybody's requirements in their language, translate it into a piece of paper that I could then give to both of them, and they could say, yeah, that is it.
Mhm,
So the relationship came out of demystifying something that was causing agitation between groups of people. Not a small thing to do. And when you're in business for yourself, sometimes you have to explain things to people a dozen times before it finally makes sense to them. It's in the effort that you're expending, to make sure that they fully understand, have had all their questions answered, that you're giving them enough information, they're generating new questions, and that they're now comfortable, they know enough to ask smart questions for themselves. And now you've got this whole thing of trust that's just being built up by who you're being and how you're developing this whole community approach. The next thing you know, they're bringing their friends, other big
mhm.
business. And next thing you know, you got people just showing up at your door saying,
That's been my experience for the past 30 years.
yeah, I got a problem. I don't understand this. And Barbara said, if I talk to you, that you can make it make sense to me in 10 minutes. Can you do that? I said, I don't know. Let's get into a conversation, see what you got.
Yeah. No, that just happened to me today. One of my colleagues reached out. She's deciding to add, for the lack of a better word, coaching to her already existing business. We don't, but she said, I thought I knew the first person I need to call is you because she's always given me good advice. And she just wanted to she wanted to make sure she was on the right track. So, and she called me and she's like, you're the first person I thought of to ask, am I on the right track? Because she knows me and I've given her valuable feedback or advice in the past. So, and she did, and she was, and it was like, she's like, I'm so glad that I knew I could call you and that you would take my call, and you would either tell me I'm on track or give me an attitude adjustment to show me where I needed to be. And, that's the beauty of, having a community. Sometimes you just have a question. You don't need, I always say, like, there's times to it where you need to belly up to the bar and invest, right? Put your money on the table. But sometimes you just need to know if, like, your brain is telling you something awesome or it's seducing you into what I call the stupid. And some days you're able to discern that for yourselves. And sometimes you just need someone you trust to say, hey, am I in the right place? And when you have a community that you've contributed to and been of value to just because you can, right, and you've been willing to step out of your own box to solve a problem that you may or may not be able to solve, like, for fee.
Yes.
When you build those relationships, you can absolutely pick up the phone and say, I'm having one of those quirky days. I'm like, am I hot or am I not? And they'll be like, well, tell me what's going on. Like, you're fabulous, like, snap out of it, like, you're fine. Or you're in a pickle and you need a solution and you need it like yesterday. Can they just lend their wisdom to you? That doesn't happen with a transactional relationship.
Let's
That
say
doesn't
some more.
happen.
Let's say some more about the transactions. What's up with that? Almost everyone I know is trying to close something every single day, right?
And they should. And that's something, you and I, this will be a separate conversation. I've had it up to here with the whole debate, like, either people are calling out, I call it pitch slapping, right? Showing up, hi, buy from me. And then other people are making, like, why are you making fun of that? Like, we all should be selling. Selling, or, like, if you don't like that, you don't like sales. Like, I'm really, to people I love dearly, I'm ready to slap them, like, proverbially slap them in the head, because I'm getting sick of it, because everyone's getting cute and trying to, like, be like the new authority. And the point is, if you're not inviting people every day into your opportunity, you're not running a business. Let's get that straight. Everybody needs to be inviting people into your world, into your opportunity. There's a difference between selling, or, like, in what I call inviting, and pitch slapping, right? Inviting means that you actually introduce yourself in a low risk, no pressure way. You make them aware of things that they need to know that you have that can make their world better or be a valuable resource to help their community. That's building trust. That's building awareness and trust. Back in the modern day, we call that marketing. Making sure you're aware of something that you need to have, or even you, like Apple, you don't even know you need it, but I'm going to show you why you do, right? The door-to-door vacuum cleaners, right? We didn't even know what a vacuum was back in the 50s, but here's why you want it. Awareness and trust, and allowing people to buy in their own time, in their own reason. That we should be doing every single day. We should always be expanding our audience, inviting people into our ecosystem, to be supported whether they buy or not. And I come from, the days of when cold calling was all we had, right? And there's a way to very respectfully introduce yourself in a way that people will invite you in to pitch.
Yes.
There is a way. So what I think gets lost in the new generation is they don't understand there's a process to sales, and pitching is like the very last step. And that's not even, I'm not even talking about marketing. I'm talking about starting a sales conversation. There's like 7 steps. Pitching is like the last part of it. And for me, being the dinosaur that I am, if you don't understand that, it tells me you're not ready for me, even to like breathe my air, because that's not how we build relationships. We build relationships by, it hasn't changed since kindergarten. You sit down to somebody and you say, "Hey, my name's Bill. Hey, my name's Kim. You want to go play with, you want to go play on the swings? Yeah, let's go play." Right? And you get to know each other, and you get to know a little bit. I'm like, "What do you like?" Well, like my mom made me peanut butter and jelly. Well, my mom made me ham and cheese. And you're like, "Well, I don't really like peanut butter and jelly. I don't really like ham and cheese. Hey, you want to swap?" Right? Before you know it, you know everything about them. You just become part of each other's worlds.
Yeah.
And as you go, you share resources. And then we all become older, right? And then we're all responsible for ourselves. And it's like, "Hey, how can you help me?" Well, here you go. And how can you help me? Here you go. It can happen really quickly. You can meet somebody, and and it all can happen like really fast. But I think I don't know when it happened, but a lot of things got lost in translation. I don't know if it was technology. I don't know if it was social media. I
Well,
don't know, but
let me
it
take a
just got lost.
let me just take a stab at it, okay? So, like I said, a couple of things that you said when we're talking about currency being a store of value. The really cool thing of it is, I would say, relationship currency is a lot more like crypto than it is like dollar bills. Okay, it's out there somewhere, but how you find out you've got it is you spend it. And the main thing that I want to just bring to this conversation with my experience of relationship, and I've taken orders from people hundreds of thousands of dollars at a time.
Mhm,
They never were buying something from me that they knew they had to have. Not one time ever. They were buying from me with an expectation that the amount of time and energy that we put into it from a service standpoint, like getting them to the point where we had alternatives for them to look at, where we worked out the differences between those alternatives to their satisfaction. And now all of a sudden they're at a point where, it's time for the transaction. I would let people tell me it's time for the transaction. I would never say, "Do you want to buy from me today?" Not one time ever. Oh, after I knew what I was doing. In the early days, I burned a lot of relationships because the conversation got distilled down to, just a couple of words, few words. "Do you want to buy? Do you want to buy? You want to buy? I haven't talked to you in 6 months. You want to buy? How's your family? You want to buy?" All of the stuff we're putting in there to kind of feign being in relationship with them, as opposed to showing up at their door and saying, "Hey, I got some extra, some extra tickets this weekend to the Navigators down in Norwich. Would you be able to find value with these? I can't take them and I can't find anybody else to give them to. This is not a quid pro quo, but I just want you to have a good time on me and go do this. Nothing else of it." And you do that enough times around the community, people start saying, "This is a generous guy, he must have something. There must be something going on over there. And how is it possible he's always thinking of us before he's asking us to do something for him?" Well, I
mhm,
started with a philosophy after about year 2 or year 3. I can have anything that I want in the world, provided I'm ready, willing, and able to help enough people get what they want first. So that gets tempered with, to the extent that I am ready, willing, and able. Sometimes I'm ready and willing, but I'm not able, or all three of those being there at the same time. But this is where committing to a life of service, as you would if you were at the altar saying "I do" to somebody you really do intentionally want to grow old with, not the person who's going to satisfy your mind's eye view of what the next 5 to 10 years is going to look like. But when it doesn't look like that, and using those words, of Jack Nicholson, what's it all come down to? If this is the best it gets, can you live with the worst until then? And when you're there with people, when they need you and you don't need them, that builds the currency that stacks up like a pile of love wood, that later on they're going to bring you the things that they know that you want because you've spent the time to know and like and trust them, and they've done it in reverse, and they now know what a good client for you looks like because you're in relationship. They're not going to just send you somebody because it's a phone number. Oh, you're in IT, this guy's in IT too, let's go have lunch. No, it doesn't work like that. You're in IT, you're looking for somebody here that can help you with cryptocurrency and how your clients can then leverage that to be able to borrow money for their next home. Oh, that's pretty specific. You'd have to know me a little bit to know that I'm even interested in that subject, right, Kim?
Yeah, well, yeah, and one of the things I love about collaborations is, you know, you, what is it? Your reputation is the one thing that you can't get back, right? Where your reputation is your credit line. Your
Yeah,
reputation, your word is your credit line.
right.
So your credit score. So um, reputation travels. I think one of the first times that I ever realized the power of reputation and how like was when somebody called me. I never met them before, but they go, well, so and so, like, and they used a name that like people knew, like a big, well, so and so told me about you. I'm like, so and so told you about me? I didn't even know so and so knew who I was. Right. It was like, wow. So, and in the most, I'm always like the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. That's
Yeah.
me.
Yep.
Right. It's just because a lot of what you just said, Bill, could happen like that, right? You meet somebody and it's like the beginning of a forever relationship. It's because even in the first fifth, like 3 seconds, you came across that you actually gave a crap about them, right?
Yes.
Regardless of what they could do for you or what you wanted them to buy from you, you sincerely, in your own unique way, right? I'm really extroverted. Somebody listeners might be like, well, I don't not as extroverted as Kim, but quiet says a lot too. And just showing up, like you said, to serve and having a servant leadership mentality, right? And just starting the conversation, like, how can I help you today? Right?
Yeah.
You can be on a train, you can be on a plane. You just start up a conversation as a human being, and like people start talking to you, and like, well, how can I help you? Or, oh my God, you're having that trouble. I know so and so. Is it okay if I connect you to? If and I can tell. And what I love to say is because it's true with people like you in my world. I'm like, listen, I don't know how to solve that problem, but I know someone who does. And if they turn out not to be the best person to solve your problem, they will tell you, and they will go out of their way to make sure that you get somewhere where this problem can be solved.
And
I
by the
cannot
way,
tell you how
you're
many
both
doors that open just where how many people are like, really, you do that? And I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't I?
Well, by the way, you're both my friends, okay? The next time I see both of you, I don't wanna have to, like, have you walk across the street down because you saw me on the street. I mean, the whole idea is if we're sitting out at at a random place like a coffee shop or someplace, we can all come over and give each other a three-way hug. And wow, it's so cool. We didn't end up doing anything together, Bill, but quite frankly, I found that this guy has some of the same hobbies that I do, and now we're going to the same church. It's really amazing.
Exactly. So, and you never know when, and again, like you said about like deposits, like a bank, you might not touch your bank account. Like you might be doing deposits for years and you're letting that interest, compound, right? Whatever the deposit. But the day you need it, like, oh my God, people will come out of the woodwork for you. And you might not even realize how well um held, you are in the community. But when you're constantly giving, even if you need to take a big withdrawal, like maybe it's like, wow, it doesn't matter because you've shown everybody through your who you are, through your being,
Yes.
that you actually care. And sometimes that's just enough. And some people I know, I've had relationships where they didn't need anything from me. They could buy and sell me 500 times and but they just valued me. They just like, "Kim, we just love the way you think. We just love who you are, and we just love having you in our world. And, you don't have to give me anything. I think you make the world a better place by being you. And how can we help you? What do you need?" And I'm like, "Really?" So that's what I wish for those coming up after us,
Well,
because it just makes life a
I
lot
want to be
easier.
clear about something here, okay? I want to be clear because I know there's going to be a thrownness for people to hear this. Like, if I've done enough transactions with person X, I will have, you know, karma in the bank with them. It's not that at all.
No, 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 it's not.
You'll be
Transit, yeah,
surprised where help comes from when you need it, but all
yes.
you'll have to do is ask and it will show up.
The way I would put it in colloquial terms is the whole idea of random acts of kindness or pay it forward,
Yep.
right? We're not expecting anything back when we pay for the coffee for the guy or the gal behind us. We're not expecting the person in front of us pay for our coffee.
No.
It's that we're putting goodness out because we know the more good we put out in the world, it comes around and it's always available. And the best I've learned how to build business and build community just by looking to the left of my right and saying, "Hey, I'm going out into the world. What should I look out for you? Like, what do you need?" And either like, "Do you need anything right now?" Either yes or no. If they say yes, or they tell me about it. Huh? That's not me, but it's so and so. Can I connect you? Or they go, "I'm not ready now, but if you ever know if anybody's like da da da, let me know." And give you a better example, but I'll do that. When I started my corporate career, I didn't have any money. I was starting over from scratch, and I'm like, "Just tell me what you're looking for. I'm going to be out in the world cold calling, and if I find somebody that fits, I'll come back here." They're like, "Okay, great." Never believing that I would, and then I'd bring like the ideal. They go, "Wow, you did that for me? Like, do you want to get paid?" I'm like, "Well, no, I just did it because it'll help you out, right? If you want to pay me, I won't say no, but that's not why I did it." It's kind of like if you guys watch The Godfather. I'm a movie buff. The universe and spirit talks to me through the movies. And I teach this. One of the things I teach management by making my executives watch The Godfather. But I tell them to study two. There's a lot of people I tell them to study the movie, but um, Marlon Brando's character, Don Corleone, he had his management style, his business style was very much like this. The famous thing is like, on this day, remember I did you this favor, right? And they're like, because they were all like, "What can I do for you, Don Collier?" I was like, "No, no, 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 you don't do nothing for me. I don't need nothing. I helped you because I wanted to help you. Just remember this day. So if ever I need a help, I come to you." And he built a community, even though it was a mobster, and that might not be the way you want to live your life. He built a community based on respect and trust, even though he was the head of the mafia. Um, People knew he was fair. People knew if he could help, he would. And he wasn't going to extort you or like quid pro quo, at least to the community at large. He just said, "Remember who I am. And if I helped you and somebody needs help and I ask you, you know, remember when you were in this place." Um, it's a mindset. It's a mindset. It's knowing who you are at your core, knowing that you have more than enough so you have enough for yourself and you have something to give,
Right.
and creating that ecosystem. I'm not saying give to you bleed, like leave yourself anorexic because that's no, that's different. That's a different type of thing. But you give where you can, you connect where you can, you let people know they're valuable besides or in addition to whatever money they spend with you.
So we're on a tight time frame here.
We are, but that's
So
okay.
I'm going to suggest we both make a useful suggestion to people that they can take away from here. And what I'm going to say to you is that if you're always the same person everywhere you go, you won't have to remember a clever line to say to somebody. And for God's sake, the once you've mastered your 30-second elevator speech so that you're comfortable in a second meeting or a third meeting, you can actually explain in the King's English what you do
Yes.
and then you can continuously ask them, does that make sense to you, and what else would you like to know about that? But the first meeting has to always and everywhere be about the person in front of you.
Amen.
This
Yep.
isn't your one shot deal to make an impression. And if you fail at that, you'll never be able to sell them something ever again. Lose that entirely. Go to these networking events with the idea that you're already in love with and everyone in the world is your friend. You just haven't met them all yet. And you're like so excited and surprised they're here. Best day ever for me. I was looking for you, that kind of a feel. You may not say that, but you want to
But
leave people with that
into, yeah, yeah. The way you think about things shows rates through. And I would just say, what changed my life is, Stephen. I didn't mention him earlier. Stephen Covey. He taught me the art of the win-win relationship. And when I started my business 25 years ago, and even my corporate sale before that, corporate sales, because everyone's like, oh, like corporate sales is really competitive and blah blah blah, and put the fear of God in you. I always approached every opportunity from the win-win perspective, meaning I can explore and listen to anything you want to bring to me or any idea you want to, me to entertain. And as long as I see a win for me and a win for you, I'm open to it. If I see a lose for me or a lose for you, I'm going to say something and, we can explore it again. But the only relationships or transactions, because sometimes you have to do a transaction, are the ones that we see as a win-win opportunity. Otherwise, the only win is to not play today.
called no
And
deal.
that leaves us open to come back as many times as we want you to explore and explore and explore. It's all, in my experience, it's always built trust. Like, you're not going to take it even if you're starving. No, I'm not going to take it if I'm starving, because I trust it's, for me to take it and leave you in a lose, it's going to be a big lose later.
Yes.
And if you are more manipulative or more persuasive than me, and whether you know it or not, you offer me a lose, and whether I don't realize it now or 10 years from now, it breaks trust forevermore. So learning Stephen Covey, could tell you more about that. It's just made negotiating or stepping out of my comfort zone or reaching out to people without feeling salesy or like icky so much easier,
Sure.
because I led with, like, I want to listen, like, tell me what you want. If I can do it, I will. If I can, I'll introduce you.
Yeah. So really, when you come down to it, when it's not win-win and you're not both really excited and ecstatic about it, there's just more to talk about. Okay. And the answer right now is it might not be today. So it's no deal for today, but let's revisit it next week because we're
Yep.
friends and we trust each
Yes.
other. We're gonna
You
be
can
in
always,
our lives forever.
everyone know, right. Everyone always knows they can bring me to something to me all the time. It's not for me, I'm going to tell you. But what I love about that approach, and why I love, why I'm such a, what about, like, stop with the transactional selling. And, like, yes, we all need to sell and we all should be, making sales every week, every day. But when you start with a transaction, you're targeting 3% of the people who are ready to buy now, which through the numbers you will find them. But you're alienating the 97%, some of which would buy from you if you just slow down.
Right.
The other part who doesn't ever need you, but in building relationship with them, they know 100 people who do. And because you really got to know them as a person, they were like, listen, I don't have a need for it, but I like you and trust you enough to introduce you to 100 people. Would that be okay? Like, would that be okay instead of giving you a sale?
Not too shabby.
So that's my last word on that, Bill. But always love spending time with you, and I'd love to hear from the listeners how you like this conversation. And Bill, anytime you want to, I will always take your call and create another conversation.
Well, it's the same here. We come up with a couple of cool things to talk about where we just want to spontaneously get the word out to people, sharing our experience and maybe giving somebody a little bit more to chew on. I like to
Yep.
call it time bombs. They
Yeah.
release when they do, and it's like an aha
Yes. Yes.
moment
Time.
later
Yes.
on.
Time release. Yes. 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 Love it.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate being with you. Thanks for making the time available. And the rest of you at home, I have some homework for you. We are lighting the candle, a world that works. However, will you please call somebody, text them, send a carrier pigeon or whatever. Just let them know that your world works because they're in it. One of your friends out there wants and needs to hear from you. Just let them know that you're very, very thankful that they're around. We're lighting the candle. Thank you. God bless you all. Love you all. And bye-bye, Kim. Thanks.
Till next time.
You've been listening to Lighting the Candle, a World That Works, part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can catch every episode as well as the rest of the network at exvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts.